What is the one thing right now that you can start doing to actually deliver the results that you are looking for? The one thing that you can do is going to be a lot easier than maybe what you're thinking. It is definitely a practical application, which is stuff that I like to share. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and I'm a podcast host of Business Vitality. And after spending at least 12 coaching phone calls last week on the phone with some really talented people, this theme keeps coming up. And this is the one thing that they're doing that's differentiating themselves from the folks that may be struggling or the folks that aren't getting the results that they want. So, what is that one thing? That one thing is quite simple. They're taking the time to explain the why. Why are they trying these new things? Why are they reaching out to people in new ways? Why are they being consistent and creating follow up? And why are they doing what it is that they're doing? So, how often have we sat and received information and we're seeing that someone is acting differently and we're telling ourselves stories in our mind about why they're doing this and why are they acting different? Are they sick? Are they scared of something? Why are they doing this? And as simple as explaining the why of what it is that we're doing on the front end, they're able to just go ahead and accelerate and create that result. So, what I want to do with you today is to be able to share the importance and why does it matter to share the why. And I've broken this down into three different segments. If you know me, I like the power of three. And the three segments are, why is this simple and not easy? Why is actually being used for creating coaching results? And the last thing I want to share with you is just a client example of how they have used why over the past couple of years. And I've been able to be a part of this growth and opportunity to see. And I want to just kind of explain what that story was like watching them create this why and this emphasis over the past, gosh, it may have been the past 2 years or even longer. So, this one thing that people are doing, that leaders are doing, that are creating the results is explaining the why. And so, Marshall Goldsmith taught me many years ago when I was able to work with him up in New York. I remember him saying this phrase that this is simple, not easy. And I think that same thing holds true for explaining the why. It is simple, but it's not easy. And why is it that, we know we should be able to do this, or maybe we just got out of the routine and stopped sharing? Why is it so simple, but yet it's just not always easy to be able to explain that why? And I think it takes time to get in that rhythm of explaining that why. And why do we get so busy during the day that sometimes we just forget? And I don't know about you, but sometimes when I get uber busy, the stress levels elevate, and I just get to the point where I need to just get the work done. And when I need to get the work done, the why is probably one of the first things that I'm cutting to get out of this conversation so I can get to that result. But really, it's creating maybe a false pretense that I'm able to deliver the result. Because if I can't tell what the why is and be able to share it with other people, there's no purpose behind it for them to want to get on and to be able to help and support this goal. So sometimes, we're uber busy, the phone's ringing, the cell phone's ringing, back when we had desk lines, home lines, everything. The chats are going, the text messages are going, you've got your CRM system, you've got all these messages coming through, and it's just hard. It's just hard. It's like one more thing that we have to remember. And as somebody that I was working with recently, we talked about time management. We talked about the 80-20 rule. And I said, okay, what is that 80% mark that you're trying to deliver this week? Because more than likely, it's only going to be one or two things that you need to do to really push and to get that end result. And sometimes when we roll back in and we take a step back for us to analyze the calendar and analyze the time, we realize that these small conversations of explaining the why is what is going to help us attain that result that we're seeking. And so, when we look at time management, we look at, we get busy and we just get into that respond mode, respond and respond and react and react and react. Really, we need to take a step, pause, take a deep breath, use some boxed breathing if you're familiar with that process of just resetting ourselves, release the air, and figure out what it is that you need to do. And if you haven't explained the why lately, it may be time to reiterate the importance of why it is that we're doing what we're doing. So, sometimes that means that we have to talk less. Sometimes that means that we need to wait for the right pause in the conversation in order for us to deliver that why. Because if the why is shuffled all throughout the conversation, like it's just constantly in there, but it's just not that clear, simple sentence of why we're doing this, it's going to get lost in the message that's coming across. So sometimes as we're listening to others, we just really need to be present and listen, and when the time is right, when they're ready to hear it, we can share what the why is. Again, all of this stuff is uber simple. It's not easy. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to figure out when we're going to plant the why and when we're going to share it because we want to be able to continue to deliver these results. And so we have to figure out how do we deliver the biggest bang for the buck? And very often it's starting with explaining the why, and also, we want to make sure that we time it correctly within our conversations. There's times where we're uber busy, just like I mentioned a minute ago, with all the messages that are coming in. We have to strategically figure out when is the best time to explain the why. So, why this idea may be very simple. It's not always easy because I know I find myself guilty of not always explaining the why early enough into a conversation or early enough into a project in order for everybody to really benefit and to cut free and to be able to deliver these results. So, if you're just tuning in, my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach. I'm a podcast host of Business Vitality, where we share practical applications. I partner with teams, individuals, businesses, and leaders, and we create measurable leadership change using practical applications. And we layer these practical applications in, and it's creating accelerated growth for these organizations, for these leaders. And last week I had a conversation with one leader, and the leader asked, do you normally work with leaders who are in trouble? And I'm like, well, I'll be honest with you, no, I don't. I usually work with leaders that are at the top of their game, or they're heading to the top of their game, and we just want to get a little bit better. And Marshall explained this to me years ago. He said, there's so many people that are focused on the bottom of the barrel and just trying to get them up to mediocre. Whatever happened to supporting the people who are above average to get them a little bit better? And so that's his focus, that's my focus. And I was able to share that with one of my new clients that, our focus is to take the best of the best and get them a little bit better. So, if you're familiar with this time of the year, it's the time of the Masters with the golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia. And if you look at it, all these people at the top of their game, they have coaches. They have people working with them to continue to stretch, to just get a little bit better. And that's how they're able to continue to win all of these tournaments. And that's same holds true in any profession, especially when it comes to sports. We're used to seeing that in other sports and other arenas. We may not always have seen that in the corporate arena of trying to get a little bit better when we're already at the top of the game. So, I want to share with you another example. One of these examples of, what can you start doing right now to get the results that you're looking for, which is explaining the why. I want to be able to explain to you guys a little bit about why this is being used in the coaching programs that I'm using with my clients, because I don't feel, I can see what the results are. The results are good. And, as one of 12 master coaches using stakeholder center coaching in the US, I know that there is a process that we're following that's working. And so when I see what the results are that my clients are able to achieve, and we're able to see this, and I'm wondering which part of this is really delivering the biggest impact, the biggest bang for your buck, the best use of your time. And when we follow a process, and if you know me, you know I love a process. When we follow the stakeholder centered coaching process, which I use for my clients, and I intertwine all my other corporate experience and conversations that I've had with countless leaders over the decades. But the core of it is stakeholder centered coaching, delivering results. When you look at it, we start conversations with, this is what I'm working on. Have you seen that I've gotten better or worse? Yes or no? Just tell me if I gotten better or worse. And, do you have suggestions for me going forward? So when we break down this check-in conversation with the stakeholders that the leaders are doing, we start with sharing the why. We're meeting because I'm working on my executive presence. I'm working on building my team. I'm working on time management. And so we share that. And what we found is when you share this why on the front end during these coaching engagements, you're able to kind of put the other person at ease. And if any of you have followed Brene Brown, you're familiar with the term, the stories that we're telling ourselves. And so when someone sees you trying something new, we're going to tell ourselves stories about, well, why are they acting this way and what is going on. And so we get so consumed in our own head that we're not really paying attention to that message of what it is that you're trying to convey. We're over here in our head listening to the stories we're telling ourselves. So if we can explain the why on the front end during a check-in for a coaching engagement, it puts the other person at ease, so then they can open up their mind to be able to receive what it is that you're going to be sharing next. So my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. Today, I am sharing the one thing that you can start doing that's going to get the results. And so when we started, the one thing that you can start doing to get the results is explaining the why. And so I'm kind of breaking this down. This all starts with the fact that it is simple. It is not easy to explain the why. This now part that we're in is, how are we using it for coaching? And so we use it for coaching because we lead our conversations with our stakeholders, with the people that are around us. We're able to create accelerated results because we explain the why, because the leader is explaining the why. And there's often times when the leader comes to me and says, I don't really want to talk about this stuff, or I feel awkward in the beginning telling somebody I'm working on building talent, or I'm trying to elevate my executive presence. And yeah, anytime you try something new, it may feel a little awkward until it becomes routine. At the end of these coaching engagements, people are coming back to me, coming back to the companies that hire us, and they say, I know we're not going to we're done with the engagement. We came to an end, but what I want to do is continue to have these conversations with other people because of the amount of information I'm able to pull from these conversations. They're very short conversations, they're very focused conversations, but they lead with the why. And when they lead with the why in these coaching engagements, they're able to extract so much powerful information. If you've ever been in sales, you can hear the other person's words, so you can begin to create mirroring conversations. When you use other people's words, it helps accelerate that connection because you can reiterate back with them their words, their terminology, what they're comfortable with. And so we're able to incorporate that into the dialogue when we follow back up with these folks. And so as we're speaking and we're hearing from other people, we're able to capture all of these small pieces, pull them together to help create these results and accelerate these results and create sustainable results. They're sustainable because they're able to do this like a rep going on at the gym. You run your reps or you have your routine that you do at the gym. When you are doing these reps, when you're having these conversations on a scheduled basis over a period of 6, 9, 12 months, you're creating a change in your behavior and you're creating a change in the way other people see you. And when you lead with why it is that you're doing this, it just puts the other person at ease and at comfort for them to receive what it is that you're about to share or what you're about to ask. And so we see that using the why and leading with the why in our coaching engagements is delivering exponential results. The clients that I'm working with are creating 100% success with the goals that they're setting because they're leading with the why. Why are they meeting? I'm working on building my executive presence and I want to touch base with you. Are you seeing an improvement? Yes or no? What are some things that I can do going forward as a result? And every time that we meet with a client, I meet with a client, they have different examples of this felt awkward. I tried this didn't go quite the way I wanted it to. But then we pivot and we talk about what's in the future. What do you want to do next? Like based off these conversations that were a little wonky, a little awkward, what are you going to do going forward? And so they try it again. I'm working on executive presence. This is what I'm going to be doing going forward. And it's creating this process. But at the start of every process is the why. For those of you just dialing in, my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. Business Vitality is my framework, my proven framework of over 2 decades of working in corporate, combining that with leadership coaching of how can we get people thinking in new ways? How do we align the language from the frontline sales to the back room of operations to the corporate strategy in the boardroom? And how do we pull that language together? And so for 20 years, I had access to be able to combine these conversations and to help identify opportunities or close gaps, as some like to refer to it, identify opportunities to be able to help other businesses grow. And so when I take a step back, I realize what I did for 20 years is this exact same process. I love a process. I love stakeholder center coaching. It has its own process, and Business Vitality does as well. And so on the Business Vitality podcast, we talk about best practices, practical applications that are creating accelerated results. And very often we have CEOs and other senior leaders coming in, sharing their war stories in hopes that what they learned, they can pay it forward and help you be able to accelerate through your growth. So, my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach, podcast host of Business Vitality. And today we are talking about the one thing that you can start doing right now that's going to start getting results. That one thing is leading with the why. And so we've been able to talk about, why is this simple idea? Why is a very simple idea? It's simple, but it's not always easy to be able to explain why we're doing something. It takes you having to take a risk to be able to share it. And if you're not used to sharing it, you're going to feel like you're going out on the limb for the first time. We also use this why process when we meet with our coaching clients. So when I work with my coaching clients, we lead conversations with why. Yet again, if they've never done this before, it's going to feel a little bit awkward and a little bit offbeat that first few times. But building in that repetition and building that momentum, and for them to gain the recognition in an accelerated manner, is what gets them to create the momentum and to come back and to keep doing what it is that they're doing. And this third piece that I wanted to be able to share with you is a coaching client that I've been working with. I coached individuals, I've coached the team, the leadership team. And a few years ago, during one of our coaching sessions, I just took in what they were trying, what was working, what wasn't working. And what I realized was this person was uber intentional about sharing the why. I couldn't have told you, how this was going to make sense fast forward 2 years down the road to now. But what I have seen is this individual takes risk because if you're not used to sharing the why, it can feel risky. And so this person shares why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And they have the huge amount of patience to be able to share the why day in and day out because sometimes those of us that are listening aren't really listening to everything. We're hearing you, but we're not listening. So we've got to hear the why again. I had one executive tell me that sometimes adults have to hear things 16 times before they finally hear it. So explaining the why can be exhausting. But what I have seen watching this individual, watching this organization, and this organization is just different than a lot of the other ones that I've seen, different in a way of the transparency, the growth, the support that they share for one another. I've never seen anything like this. And I have worked with, I don't even know, countless businesses. And there is no territorial feelings. There is no, silo effect within the organization. It's just very transparent. And of what I've seen, started with a couple of years ago, this leader explains the why. They take the time to slow down the voice, to slow down the conversation, to explain why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And then what I've seen is in that individual setting, it is now trickled into the rest of the organization. And so when we meet as a team with this leadership team, they're all boiling it back to when I take the time to explain the why, now it's getting pushed down further into the organization to the front line, and they're beginning to have that why explained all the way down through the organization. And so it started with, I would say, probably one individual. It trickled across the team, and now it's hitting down to the next layer and the next layer. And the theme that I'm seeing throughout these conversations is this leader took the time to explain the why to the other leadership team members. This leadership team now sees the value in explaining the why, and they're taking time to help their next layer of support. And it feels as though that why is even going deeper down to that front line support to the customer. And so to have a client that understands the importance of the why and models the behavior of what they know is important, it's pretty powerful to get to see this. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes today to be able to explain the one thing that we can all start doing right now if we want to create these results. And the one thing is explaining the why. And yes, it is simple. It is not always easy. We have to pause, we have to reflect, we have to speak up at certain times. Why is being used in just the coaching process that we use. And then lastly, I wanted to share this story of a client that started with one individual, and I've literally seen it transform into the team and then down within the various layers of the organization. And it is uber simple, it is so practical, but they're taking the time to explain the why, and they're able to still get the results despite whatever the market is doing, despite what the buying patterns are. The team has transparency. The team has a better feeling when you walk into the room, this vibe that's in there, this collaborative feeling, supporting one another, wanting to stretch as a leader, and then the rest of the leaders on the team wanting to stretch and support each other. It's a pretty powerful thing. And if I had to boil it down, it was definitely a theme that I saw with my coaching calls that I had last week. These powerful leaders are explaining the why. They know that they can take just a few minutes every day to explain the why, and that's what's going to help drive the needle to the results that they're trying to achieve. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host. I partner with teams, individuals, and leaders. We create measurable leadership change using practical applications, and my clients have been able to accelerate their results as a result of these processes and these practical applications. If you are interested and you're wondering, I don't even know if she can help me, I would love to have a call with you or a conversation. Please shoot me a message and we'll see if we can line up a time. I cannot tell you how many conversations start off with, Catherine, I don't know if you can help me, but can we just get on a call and brainstorm? And very often we can brainstorm a solution that just might get the results that you're looking for. So again, my name is Catherine Cantey. You can find more about the work that we're doing at catherinecantey.com. And you can also tune in to our Business Vitality podcast found on all the major podcast platforms. And then I will be here Mondays at 1:30 Eastern to be able to share practical applications with you on LinkedIn Lives. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.